Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, Dustborn, the wokest game ever, as it was labeled and lauded and, of course, applauded by all of the critics and all of the clapping seals out there in the mainstream gaming journalism websites and all of their news organizations. Well, it turns out it's nothing more than a gigantic flop. Obviously, with less than 30 people playing it out there on its opening weekend, it's sad, it's a desperation, and it's something that why people wonder how things like this ever get funded, why the old adage of go woke, go broke does not exist more often. Well, it turns out, ladies and gentlemen, all the accusations and the lies about the fact that government funding and grants for woke indie games doesn't actually exist. Well, it turns out that your government is funding woke indie video games like Dustborn, ladies and gentlemen, and it's not just a little bit like we talked about with the EU grant. No, it's almost completely and totally government funded, because you could not even convince any kind of crazy ISG kind of DEI investment firm to go along with this kind of nonsense and push this kind of crazy narrative. No, you literally had to apply for government grants that are specifically given based solely on checkboxing DIE requirements. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's your hard-earned tax dollar money, and yes, taxation is theft, that is going to fund woke garbage games out there. And boys and girls, if that doesn't make you upset and make you absolutely incensed against your very own government, I don't know what will, because they have wasted hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, or in this case, krona and euros, on something that has turned into an absolute abysmal flop and is nothing more than an Antifa training simulator. So we're going to check out this thread over here from our dear sweet friend Grums, out there doing the Lord's work, digging into all this kind of stuff and finding out about it and confirming what so many of us out there expected. These things cannot stand on their own. It's only the biggest monopoly on the planet, Big Daddy government, that allows this kind of stuff to continue and go forward. So we're going to get this little thread post from Grums. Before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we're inching our way closer to 1,300, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below if you're from one of these countries out there that helped fund this kind of stuff, if it was your hard-earned tax dollars that went to fund such an abysmal abomination of a game that goes against every single one of the Western values so many of us know, love, and cherish. So from our dear sweet Grums, Dustborn used far more government money than had previously been reported. The Norwegian Film Institute funded the game for 14 million kroner, or nearly 1.4 million USD. This is in addition to the 150,000 euros from the Creative EU grant program. Dustborn is basically an Antifa training game. You bash the fash across the divided states of America by using vocal powers to call people racist. Yes, and literally, if you have not watched the intro to this game, I deeply apologize to any of you out there that I'll tell to go back and actually watch that out there, because trust me, the intro to this game, and actually just go watch my video on it, because we don't actually play any of the audio. You don't have to hear any of it, but just seeing the words on screen, this tells you everything about this game. It is indeed the wokest game ever made, boys and girls. And guess what? Woke doesn't sell to a mainstream audience, because the game has 33 players currently on its opening week. This game is an abysmal waste of taxpayer money. They couldn't even convince a down with the DIE investment firm like BlackRock to pay for something like this. No, they had to steal from your pocket in order to make this absolute garbage. So the company, Red Thread Games, looks to be funding multiple games through the use of these government grants. The games do not make money, as you can see from the stream charts below for their prior games, Dreamfall Chapters, and Dragoon. The existence seems dependent on repeated grants, waste of taxpayer money that funds games that fail over and over. As you can see, literally 24-hour peak, 16, all peak, 1,711 players, and that was 8.2 years ago, boys and girls. These games games are absolute abominations. This was way before anybody knew how woke these companies were, any of that kind of stuff, and still they couldn't even crack 2,000 players, where you have Black Myth Wukong right now hitting millions in its first few days. Yeah, I wonder why. And this one, even worse, the Dragoon one, 240 all-time high of players. That won't even cover the coffee they put in the break room. But of course, how could a studio like this continue to go forward with making flop after flop? Because it's all being funded by your taxpayer dollars, boys and girls. That's why. The company seems to be grifting off of EU taxpayers' money, which are awarded in part on ESG criteria. Remember when people denied ESG games or grants for indies existed and called everyone a conspiracy theorist? Oh, well, here's the evidence for you. The Norwegian Film Institute focuses on productions where the percentage of women in key roles is a factor. Well, if that's not box checking, I don't know what is. It's literally build a game studio, make a game by the numbers. If you meet all of our diversity requirements, we'll give you money to make a woke-ass abomination of a game. Joy! Isn't Big Daddy government great, boys and girls? Taxation is theft. Their latest project, Salvet, had received nearly 11 million krono so far and 150,000 euro more from the EU Creative Program. Yes, they've gone back and dipped into your taxpayer dollars on multiple occasions, boys and girls. This is how you guys know that this kind of stuff out there fails the test of time in the market. This is why they refuse to engage in honest conversation about the quality of the product that they are delivering, because they know that it would fall flat in an open and fair forum. If these were actual done by proper traditional free market economics and not government funded and taxpayer funded and backed, these games would fall flat. This game studio would no longer exist. But Big Daddy government, who is totally down for all of the woke nonsense, is using your hard-earned money to pay for drivel like this, and they are still going to do it carrying forward. That's how these companies are still moving forward after producing disaster after disaster that we have already showed can't even get 2,000 players to get in on their game over there on Steam. 32 applications were received for this year's third and final award round, where 7 games received a total of NOK 9.5 million in development grants to the Norwegian Film Institute. Literally 7 games. Yeah, Norwegian Film Institute, yes, they're also funding video games. The grants were given in a decision-making meeting this week. 5 of the games are completely new projects. In this grant, the proportion of women in key roles, producer, art lead, and game designer is a 38%. Yes, women have to be in charge, no matter their qualifications, no matter if they're actually the best fit for the job. They have to be in charge in order for you to get the grant. It is pleasing to see the proportion of women in Norwegian games is on the rise. Well, yeah, if the only way a game studio can make money and get grants from you, then yes, this is forced inclusion by making sure that you only will get money. It's the government forcing a cultural change. And as a guy who just read about the story of Josiah in the Old Testament and how well that worked out for him, right? It worked out great for him. But Big Daddy government cannot force a change on the culture. It failed all the way back during Josiah's time, and it's failing right here, right now, because your taxpayer dollars are funding this nonsense. And if you think, well, it's not American taxpayer dollars, look up how much money the U.S. government gives Norway every year. Look how much of their defense spending we cover. Yes, your tax dollars are helping fund that, because if we weren't out there spending all of our hard-earned tax dollars protecting the EU, they wouldn't have the extra money to spend on bullshit like this. So yes, your American tax dollars are going to fund this absolute woke garbage nonsense as well. You are the only reason economic factors are making sure that they can't go broke like they would in a proper free market system. Big Daddy government sets the example all over again. They tell you what to do. We'll fund woke games because that's what you need. We need to see representation in the world. And if you don't like it, you bigot, we'll force it down your throat. Except that's not working, because it doesn't matter how much tax dollar money, how much taxpayer money they throw at all of this, these games can still continue to fail. The rest of the funding is likely, through their publisher, Quantic Dream. Quantic Dream via their Spotlight publishing program. Quantic Dream provides Red Thread games with additional support, including narrative work, motion capture. Why does that keep doing that? Motion capture. Weird. Motion capture. There we go. Internet, baby. Boys and girls, the technology is weird. Technology is weird. Motion capture, photography, and sound design, localization, and more. This is likely provided for free in addition to whatever funding Quantic Dreams invests in Dustborn. In this way, Red Thread Games continue to grift off taxpayer money and produce games while reducing many costs. Quantic Dreams was acquired by NetEase in 2022. It's curious why Red Thread Games continues to produce games over and over and over again, even though they fail, given that none of them have garnered enough users to pay for their production. It's also concerning that Dustborn has been grafted as a political ad prop tool backed by taxpayers who do not want this kind of disruption to their culture or society. But it is clear that Red Thread Games does not care or depend on game sales for their continued existence or ability to produce political propaganda games. And there's the Norwegian Institute's DEI page. So this is how these games continue to exist, boys and girls. Your hard-earned money stolen by the government to fund this kind of woke agenda-driven dribble. They want you to fund the brainwashing of your children, the brainwashing of the next generation. Because that's exactly what a game like Dustborn was designed to do. Smash the fash and accuse people of being racist. Oh yeah, we're going to cut them off from their friends. We're going to cancel people, which means all of their friends around them ignore them and don't give them any more support. That's literally a video game mechanic in Dustborn. I am not kidding you. This game is nothing more than woke drivel propaganda that is meant to influence and warp the minds of the next generation. Fortunately enough, no one's playing this game. It's not influencing anyone. But what it is going to continue to do, and what this company is going to continue to do, is feed off your hard-earned tax dollars until someone out there makes a stink inside of their governments and gets this kind of stuff shut down. They are literally using your money to fund something that perpetuates and wants the destruction of Western civilization as we know it. Go woke, go broke exists for a reason, and a free market system is 100% true. But of course, Big Daddy government is there to look after all of the little wokies because we know they can't stand on their own. Burn, Dustburn, burn. Make your voices heard, boys and girls, because it's your money funding this after all.